So at a cabinet meeting earlier this week, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz went out of his way to praise his boss, Trump, on his first 100 days in office. Watch the clip.
Mr. President, the last 4 years, the world experienced a total lack of zero leadership under Biden. And then we've had 100 days of your leadership with respect, with strength. It's an honor to serve you in this administration, and I think the world is far better, far safer for it.
Thank you very much.
And it looks like all that praise paid off because he was just nominated for a nice, cushy, prestigious gig as UN ambassador. Okay, I wonder how Elise Stefanik is taking the news since she was pulled from the running. Trump posted that Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve double duty temporarily as National Security Advisor until he appoints a permanent replacement for Waltz. Is this a good move, or is he just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic?
I have some thoughts on this. I know Mike Waltz a little bit. Well, there are things we certainly disagree on. He served our country in uniform. He has 4 Bronze Stars. He's somebody who is very hawkish on foreign policy. He's been very tough and consistent on Russia, tough and consistent on Iran. And I suspect that this is a bit of a consolation prize. Now, the UN ambassador is a cushy job. You get a $15 million apartment in Manhattan.
It's a really nice apartment.
But it's a
it's really nice.
A rental.
Yeah, well, you're in it. You get to live in it.
The U.S. owns it. Floor-to-ceiling glass.
Yeah,
So you get to live in it,
Yeah, it's
but
nice.
it is more of a spokesperson role. You give speeches, you vote how the president tells you to. He's being taken out of a role that steps from the Oval Office, the NSA's office in the West Wing, that is the single coordinator of all of the national security apparatus. And I suspect this may be because there's an internal battle in Trump world between the hawks and more of the doves who want to be more conciliatory toward Russia, who want to have negotiations with Iran. And he is a hawk.
He's a hawk.
And he's somebody that some folks in MAGA have had their knives out for, and if they've wanted him out of the building. So this worries me a little. I think he'll be perfectly fine at the UN. I think he will get Senate confirmed. But I'll be keeping my eye on who they bring in as national security.
I think this is weird. I think the whole way that it played out, I think it's weird. He was on Fox News earlier in the morning yesterday, and then all of a sudden, as National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and then all of a sudden the announcement comes out. Then the spokesperson for the State Department is giving a press conference, and she finds out from the journalists in the room that Marco Rubio had just been appointed, in addition to being Secretary of State and head of USAID, which he already is, as interim National Security Advisor. I think that when Trump started reading the reaction to his getting rid of Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor as a consequence for Signalgate.
Yes.
And people asking, well, why Waltz and why not Hegseth? I think Trump never wants to capitulate. He never wants to admit he made a mistake. He never wants there to be consequences. I think that when he read those, the way the people were reading his decision, he said, you know what? Wait, we're not going to do that. Let's make him, I've got this open job. Let's make him UN ambassador. And you know what? I'll tell you another thing. Watch this entire NSA thing with Marco Rubio, because I have this suspicion, I've had it for a while, that Trump would really like Witkoff, who is his lifelong friend, another billionaire who he respects and who he's been sending all over the world as his special envoy. I don't know if at some point that Witkoff guy doesn't end up as Secretary of State, and maybe Marco ends up at the NSA.
I don't think this was a result of Signalgate. I think that the public would have liked some accountability for that massive misstep of confidential information. But I think this is more concerning Laura Loomer, the conspiracy theorist, the provocateur who put a list out last month about loyalists to Donald Trump. And on that list, everyone but Mike Waltz and his Alex Wong, his deputy, they were still here a month later. So I think this is more about the loyalty.
I agree with Anna in this sense. Alyssa encouraged me to watch The Apprentice, which is the movie about Donald Trump's life.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah, and I watched it, and it's on streaming. And his idol, his closest confidant was Roy Cohn, this lawyer. And he said, admit nothing, deny everything. No matter what happens, you claim victory and never admit defeat.
That's right.
That's also said in The Art of the Deal. It's the book. It's his book. He didn't write it. Tony Schwartz wrote it. But it's said again. And so when I looked at this, I looked at, okay, everybody's pretty upset with Signalgate. They think it was so inappropriate. They think Mike Waltz let the editor of The Atlantic become part of that thread. Now, Pete Hegseth has another thread with his wife on it and his personal lawyer.
His dentist.
But he will, and his dentist, but he will, not his dentist, that's a joke, but he will never, ever admit defeat.
Yeah, but
Rather
right when
do
this
it
was
way.
announced, Laura Loomer texted Dasha Burns of Politico saying just the word Loomered.
Oh.
So those were the remaining names on a list that had not been ousted. So
But
I
they're
still
not
stand by.
ousted. They're
no,
not
but you're
ousted.
out. You're
But you're
moved
out
to a
of the
place
West
where you have no
Wing.
decisions.
Yeah, I think we're
They're
giving
still
too much
there.
credit
No,
to
because the
how
media would feed off that. It would be a failure.
the Trump White House does not
He
care
doesn't
about
want to admit.
Signalgate. They
So he
just
moved him
don't.
there?
They think that
What
they've
do they
survived
care
it
about?
and it's behind them.
What do they care about anything?
The lighting,
They care about their
gold,
agenda.
the gold artifacts
Yeah.
in
They
the
care about
Oval
their
Office.
agenda.
All right.
This is about
Vladimir
their
Putin's
agenda.
opinion.